right, first things first. We need an audience volunteer. Who wants to come on stage? You, right there. All right. Go find Alice. Go to your left. Alice is waving to you. She's going to bring you up on stage.
It sounds like we're about to start a shitty improv show. That's not what's...
I need a suggestion for a place. Sydney Opera House, all right. We begin, the lights come up, the Sydney Opera House. We are the AV Club. Thank you for coming. We're going to talk about TV in this giant space. Isn't that awesome? How many of you were at our Buffy thing last night? Mad props for sticking through it and for coming here. The title of this panel is All the TV You Should Have Watched by Now. And holy shit, is there a lot of TV. We live in an era, as FX President John Landgraf said last year, of peak TV. He said this: we're approaching the era last year. He spoke to the same group this year saying we haven't reached it quite yet, but like 50 more shows had been produced in the United States, scripted television programs. I think it was up from like 400 to 450. There is an unreasonable amount of television being produced in the world today. No one person could ever be expected to watch as much TV is being produced in 1 year, let alone in an entire lifetime, let alone in the entire existence of the medium.
But we found that one person. They were in the front row. Let's bring them out right now.
Hey, let's give her a round of applause.
Hi. What's your name?
Jasmine.
Jasmine.
Yeah.
Jasmine. All
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Jasmine, what's your favorite TV show?
I'd say Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad?
Yeah.
All right.
Good choice.
We were walking from dinner the other night to the Opera House, and we passed by this burger place, and it had a mural of Walter White in like full Heisenberg with the gas mask and the hazmat suit holding a burger.
Yeah, this is a thing here, right? Is this like a chain?
I'm not entirely sure, but...
Heisenberger? Oh, that's perfect.
Oh, fuck off, Heisenberg.
All right, Jasmine, you are going to be playing a very important role tonight.
Okay.
You are our jury of one.
Jury of one.
You're our
Okay.
jury of one. We're going to each be discussing one show from 3 different categories of television. We're going to cover comedy, drama, and then what we call genre in the States, which is sci-fi, horror, fantasy.
Okay, cool.
We're each going to make our case for these shows. We're going to show some clips, and then you are going to be the determiner, the decider.
Okay.
You have to figure out who gave their argument the best,
All right.
and which one of these shows is the essential must-watch show in that category.
No worries. All right.
Do you feel like you can fulfill those duties?
I definitely can.
Oh, good.
All right.
Here, and I brought you champagne, so you can have that.
So what? Perfect. We're going to take some audience Q&A as well. You'll see the microphones to either side. We're going to take a break. Laura, when are we going to take a break for the first one?
We are going to take a break right after we get through comedy and after Jasmine makes her comedy determination.
Perfect. So when Jasmine is making her determination, if you want to do Q&A, make your way to the 2 microphones there. We'll take 1 question from each, and then there will be a longer Q&A session at the end of the presentation. I was in the middle of my preamble when Jasmine came up. I think I can just throw it all away because we're running short on time. Shia LaBeouf needs to get on this stage as soon as possible. The beef! So let's start talking about comedy.
Let's do it. So what we wanted to do, and also let's be clear here, when we talk about the shows you should be watching, right, we're not up here to tell you, oh, you haven't seen The Wire yet, because of course you've already heard that you should have seen The Wire by now. That's not interesting. Everybody knows they should have watched The Wire by now. So this is what we wanted to do is more sort of try and find the shows that we think maybe aren't just already accepted as the canon. We already know Breaking Bad, The Wire, right? All these shows are the canon. So we wanted to try and talk about some of the ones that aren't quite there yet, or that maybe need a new plea to be binge-watched by a new generation of people.
And so when we were planning this, we were talking about all of the eras and the time that is available to us now thanks to streaming. And we sort of looked at each of these categories from a pre and post period. And our dividing line, our evolutionary moment in comedy was The Simpsons. Pause for applause.
Pause for applause. Yeah. Yay, animated people!
Hey, a television show that insulted this entire comedy in one of its entire country in one of its funniest episodes. I just called Australia a comedy. Oh no. And The Simpsons was important because it suddenly became this thing where it was written by a generation that grew up with television. I think if you were in this session beforehand, Dan Harmon was talking about how it made it opened up opportunities for joke writers to get microscopic, to get surgical in their joke telling, in a way that was also aware of this entire history of this medium. And I think each of the shows we're going to talk about kind of reflect that sort of self-awareness, that sort of modern, postmodern sense of humor. And also, one of them is animated, and that's Alex's choice.
That's right. So I want to start. I'll be facing this way, but Jasmine, I'm also talking to you, of course, because I want to win this. So I'd be remiss, in this sort of pre and post Simpsons era. If I was forced to choose a pre-Simpsons show, it would be Cheers, which was this sitcom that it used to be sort of a go-to, but has sort of fallen out of favor. I think in large part because the way that television nostalgia works, it's like every 15 to 25 years earlier, that's what you're watching now is nostalgia TV, which right now is Friends and Seinfeld. But with sort of this classic timeless sitcom, and I would love to make a push to continue. And we'll sort of, I think, as we go along, we'll be pushing these sort of these earlier shows that aren't necessarily as hot and happening, as the kids love to say these days.
Eric and Adam will be pushing, Eric and Adam. Erik and Alex, the two people I work with, will be pushing these shows because I am still recovering from a very deprived childhood from the 80s where my parents did not let me watch television. I'm still trying to catch up, so.
Yeah, but so let's talk about animated, right? If we're using The Simpsons as the sort of pivot point for television, a contemporary animated comedy that I'm going to talk about is called Archer. Excellent. I've got the crowd on my side to begin with. So this show, right, it comes from the mind of Adam Reed, who had created previous Adult Swim shows like C-Lab 2021 or Frisky Dingo, these sort of shorter 15-minute, 11-minute comedies. This was his first half-hour animated show. And what's so great about it is it sort of straddles that line between classic, almost classic sitcom tropes and that sort of new postmodern winking, sort of style of 21st century comedy that's very in vogue right now. As many of you, it sounds like, have already know, the show, revolves around this spy agency that was retroactively, unfortunately, named ISIS. That was a course correction that needed to happen very quickly. But, what it does is it follows this spy agency around, followed by basically this rogue, roguish buffoon, loutish guy, Sterling Archer, who also happens to be a very good spy, and the cast of characters around him. And it does this great sort of traditional workplace comedy almost thing where, the humor comes from these sort of strongly defined personalities bouncing off against each other where, over the course of seasons, even as the show changes it up, they become more like family than coworkers. But at the same time, it does this very dense contemporary comedy style where it's got as many pop cultural references as an episode of Gilmore Girls. It'll just lots of fourth wall breaking and sort of, toying with the very tropes that it's playing with, even as it's doing them. And that's one of those things that, as always seems very fun and easy, but is actually, I think, one of the most difficult things to successfully do in TV. So let's give a quick example of what it is here. This clip is from Archer. It's a standard, I think it's one of the best introductions you can have to the show. Archer and his coworker Lana are aboard a Zeppelin trying to defuse a bomb. This is from, very early season, and their coworker Ray on the ground is trying to talk them through it. So let's take a quick look at that right now.
Ray, it's Niner 34 Tango X-Ray Sierra.
Thank you, doll.
Now there should be a dash followed by 2 letters.
Okay.
Okay, so now I want you to cut the blue and white wire.
Which one? There's 2 of those.
No, one's blue with a white stripe.
And the other one's white with a blue stripe.
Yeah, and both are identical.
No, they're not.
Ray, hun, they're really similar.
One's a teeny bit blue, honey.
Which
Then
one?
I guess that one, maybe?
So wait, which one do I cut?
The teeny bit blue one.
Okay.
Okay.
Wait!
What?
Stop!
What?
You said the 2 letters after the dash were Oscar Kilo.
What?
Okay, Oscar Kilo.
No, okay, like...
Okay, now I'm gonna tell you what they are.
Yeah, and then you didn't.
I thought we skipped that part.
Skip the step in disarming a bomb.
Yeah, which
really?
I thought was pretty irresponsible on your part,
Why
but...
do you always do this?
Why do you always not shut up? Oh, stop.
On the radio, when we answer in the affirmative, we say Roger.
Oh, Roger.
Now,
Sorry.
in the serial number,
Ray.
what are the 2 letters following the dash?
You ready?
Roger!
First letter is B.
Bravo.
Thanks. Second letter is
M as in Mike or N
as
as...
in Nancy. God, you of all
What?
people.
Archer?
Me of all people, what?
Nothing.
Ray, hun?
Okay,
Oh,
so...
you can say okay.
Oh my God.
Ray, can I shoot
In
him?
about 5 seconds, honey,
Lana, be careful. Jesus, the helium.
right after he cuts the solid green wire.
The green color is
Solid or... Oh, Roger. Cutting the green wire. Jesus, God, what?
That's how annoying you are.
Your mom's annoying. How about that?
Let's go there.
Let's go here, where Archer, shut up and cut the goddamn wire already.
You shut up and I'm doing it. God.
Oh my God, Ray!
What's going on?
The timer sped up.
Did you cut the green one?
Yes, Roger.
Steven, whoever.
Ray?
What were the last 2 letters?
B
Ray?
as in butthole.
What do we do here?
And M as in Mancy.
What?
M as in what?
Mancy. What'd you think I said?
Nancy!
Oh.
You idiot!
Yeah, I could see how, then I was like, you of all. Ah!
Ah! Ah! Ow! Exact same
Ray?
spot!
Ray, tell me what to do.
Ooh. Do y'all have parachutes?
No!
That would be, problem solved.
Ray!
I don't know. Push it off with your big ass hand. Good luck, honey.
Oh, it's too heavy! Archer!
Ow! Ah! Ah!
So there we have, I think, a sort of prototypical Archer scene, really conveying everything that's great about it in one little scene. So Jasmine, I would urge you to consider the majesty of that when you make your vote. Erik or Laura?
Laura.
Right?
Yeah, so I am going to talk about a show. Everybody here is a fan of Veep, right? So before there was Veep, there was The Thick of It. Now, I was introduced to The Thick of It when I was visiting friends in England around like 2009 or something. Hadn't been to the States yet, and every single person who told me about this show was like, Laura, you have to watch it. The swearing is really good. Which is a really strange way to sell somebody on a show. They maybe just know me really well. But I kept asking, like, is this like swearing that we would could say in the States? And they're like, no, you can't. But one of the things that The Thick of It does so well, besides really creative, aggressive, constant swearing, is this commentary on this just sprawling bureaucracy, right? So Malcolm Tucker is played by Peter Capaldi because swearing always sounds better with a Scottish burr. He's the head of communications for the UK government. He's overseeing DOSAC, the Department of Social Affairs and Citizenship, thank you. So we're going to show you a clip from one of my favorite episodes with Nicola Murray has just been named to the head of DOSAC, and they have just lost, she's just realized that they've lost a bunch of immigration papers.
Pigs, little pigs. Let me come in. Don't worry about the hair on your chinny chin chin.
So what was your call?
What was my call? You want to know what my call was?
Was it important?
I'm sorry, I didn't realize that I had to run all my calls through your bedwetter's switchboard here. I usually just dial 118.
Malcolm, do you know?
Obviously he knows.
No, he doesn't. There has been a massive, irretrievable data loss. The last 7 months' worth of new immigrant details have gone, apparently lost in the computer.
You know what? You know what's really fucking sad here is that I don't even have the energy to pretend I already knew. Which is for the best, because I'm gonna need all of my fucking energy to fucking rip all of your bodies to bits with my bare hands and sell off your fucking flayed skin as a sleeping bag to a fucking normal person.
Can I just say that getting angry actually isn't going to help anything? I've done anger. I'm currently at grief. I'm working my way towards bargaining, whatever, you're behind me.
So, what is your great strategy for dealing with this? Come on, I mean, I'm fucking all ears. I'm fucking Andrew Marr here.
So
right?
let's hear what...
Let's go, let's get going. High-level tactical discussion, I'm up for it.
Right, blaming the department minister might be a high-risk strategy.
Oh, high risk, saucy, par serve.
My pitch would be this department is fatally flawed. It's out of condition, it's obese, it's asthmatic.
Let's go, back over the net.
You need to be really sure about that, Nicola.
Yes, wise words from the distinguished elderly gay fucking tennis coach here.
Seriously, I think we should talk about my strategy further, because I really think that's the way.
Yeah, the fucking wee ball boy's having a go now with his wee fucking tight shorts on. What about Sue Barker's little sister here? What's she got to say? You got something to say to add to the conversation?
No, just that there was no lemon stinger, so it's just coffee. Is that all right?
Did the Guardian know about this?
Oh, fuck. I don't know.
Yeah, as it's referred to in my department.
Shall I find out? Get some feelers?
Yeah, go on, get your feelers out for the lads.
What do you think, Malcolm? Shitting on the department, will that work?
Yes, let's cause a little bit of friction. Let's fire someone. What about Glenn?
No, you can't just fire Glenn
Well,
like that.
we could fire Glenn.
Shall I get his file?
No, I've got a list.
See, there you are, he's got a list. You're a new broom. You're sweeping up trouble with one end, broom handling incompetent staff up the tunnel with the other.
So, Malcolm, how do we play it at the Guardian?
Smile, be gay. Smile, smile, smile.
So I purposefully picked a clip that, other than copious use of the word fucking, has relatively little swearing, I would say, in the scheme of the thick of it, because he's such this vicious, intimidating figure, no matter what he's saying. And it really paved the way for shows like Veep, which is, a little bit more polished, and I think the characters are a little bit more absurd, whereas this sort of tries to capture both a real life ish, bureaucracy in the midst of this really wry commentary. And Jasmine, I would urge you to consider the thick of it. I think now, especially in the US, God knows we are going to need more political comedies. Timothy Simons, who plays Jonah on Veep, joked at some point during our election season, he was like, so HBO, should we just fucking shut it all down now? What do we do? And the Armando Iannucci obviously did both the thick of it and Veep, and I think paved the way for this kind of commentary that's been doing really well in the States.
Do you have a favorite Malcolm Tucker curse?
I do. I don't know if I'm going to say it on stage.
Do you have a Malcolm Tucker curse taped to the tower of your computer at work?
No, my favorite Malcolm Tucker moment is he takes a guy in the bathroom and he threatens him. The guy's just found out this information that Malcolm Tucker doesn't want. And he says something like he is going to, he's going to rip off his nutsack and rub it up and down his mother's legs whilst whistling Bohemian fucking Rhapsody. And the actor actually breaks a little bit. You can see him kind of smile.
Oh my God, you're bringing back so many childhood memories for me.
No, I do have the embroidered cross-stitch sampler of Tucker's Law at home.
Nice. So we've talked about a workplace that resembles a family. We've talked about a workplace. Now let's talk about workplace and family. Let's talk about a little family called the Bluths. So I think Arrested Development, probably the most canonical of the shows in this conversation so far, got a little dinged for its fourth season, which I'm a bit of a defender of. I think if you go back and you watch it a second time, you start to see the things that fall into place in the earlier episodes that are a little slow, that don't have all of the characters yet, that were hung up by the fact that Netflix decided to make a show without having everyone contractually obligated to be in every episode. Because they all got incredibly busy because Arrested Development was so influential of the last 10 to 15 years of TV comedy. And it reflects this density of joke telling that I think you could see in the Archer scene, you could see in the thick of it scene, but I think Arrested Development does it more elegantly than any other show. in addition to constructing its episodes and constructing its seasons as kind of like sometimes like a puzzle box, other times like this intricate Rube Goldberg contraption, the scenes are written that way. And Mitch Hurwitz is very smart about the way that he constructs conversation and the way he constructs relationships and the way that you can see how the Bluths relate to one another and relate to the people in their lives from different angles that are always showing themselves to you afresh when you approach the show. Our colleague, our film editor at the AV Club, Alex Dowd, calls Arrested Development the first great DVD comedy because it was a show that not a lot of people watched when it was on the air, but most people caught up with it on DVD, watched it over and over and over again so that you could go back and you could see that, you know, if a seal shows up maybe in season 2, that there's a seal earlier in the season, or somebody's wearing a yellow bow tie, or Buster is always worried about his hand. He's got a hand chair. What could that be leading to? It is so amazingly, perfectly constructed. It's so precious, and I love it to death. This is like the show. I did not watch any TV during college except for the OC and Grey's Anatomy. And this was the show that got me back into my love of TV comedy. And I think you'll see it from this scene, which features my absolute favorite supporting character on the show, played by American comedy legend Martin Mull. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Gene Parmesan, private investigator. Let's roll the clip.
Michael, this is your office now?
Yeah, well, it's temporary. Got to make sure Job looks like he's in charge. Oh, please allow me. I'll just circumvent you.
Let's make sure we don't give him any real power. So I got a call today from Gene Parmesan, our private eye. He said he found something big.
We have a private eye, huh?
Oh, I hired him 100 years ago to find out if your father was cheating on me. He never did find anything.
Well, he can't be very good then. What did he find?
He said he wanted to tell us in person.
Don't get up. I just defined the supplies because I'm a private detective. Gene Parmesan, how are you doing?
Gene! Oh, Gene, isn't he the best?
Gene was far from the best.
Very impressive.
Thank you.
What did you find?
Oh, nothing. Just your father's getaway car.
You're kidding.
Michael's father had used the family's stairway vehicle to escape from prison.
If I could find Dad, I'd be off the hook. I could be president again. Where is it?
Mexico. You get the country for free. The city, that's going to cost you.
It's a $200 fine. Oh.
I feel like such a... The car's in a town called Encanto. If you think that's worth more than $200, man, I'd really appreciate it. I'm not even going to count it.
You can leave tomorrow after my going away party for Buster. I still can't believe he's going into the army. You know, he's doing it just to spite me.
Then why are you throwing him a party?
Just to spite him.
You guys have such a healthy thing going. Okay, I'll go to your party and then I'll go to Mexico. I guess that'll be my quality time with my son.
Mexico?
Yeah, Mom's PI found the stair car down there.
Gene Parmesan? Right here. I counted. Come on.
And so, you know, Alex, I love Archer. Jessica Walter plays a very similar character on that show, but you don't get her face. Her face in those reaction shots in Amigos, every single time Gene Parmesan shows up, gives me life. I love that scream. I love when she says, Gene, you've done it again! And if you watch when they're in the closet, even the frame is packed with jokes. There's bananas on the shelves in the office of the Bluth Company because this company is so constructed on so many lies and so much corruption that they're still storing supplies for the banana stand. And there's always money in the banana stand.
That was so great. That was like nationwide is on. You guys all just.
Yeah, they don't know that.
Yeah. Oh, that shit. I'm already throwing it.
just
That was great. I may as well just start throwing like Oprah references. You get a topical reference, and you get a topical American pop culture.
We are going to have a moment for questions in just a minute. So if you have any questions about what we've covered, we'll have time for one question from Mike 2 and one question from Mike 1.
So get going to those microphones.
But in the meantime, let's ask Jasmine where she's at.
I think Arrested Development was the winner there, definitely. The argument and also the clip that was shown definitely took it out.
Yeah, it's tough to, I mean, that's the thing. Arguing against Arrested Development is like arguing against the 800-pound banana-carrying gorilla in the room.
I nominated Abraham Lincoln for the presidency, more or less here.
Yeah,
right.
But you can see the groundwork that it lays for Archer, and there's also a lot of satirical overlap with the thick of it, and also just serialization in comedy wasn't happening to that extent until Arrested Development. So. If you haven't watched it already, I can't imagine that you're attending this event and you haven't watched it Arrested Development yet. But if you haven't, this is the essential TV comedy. We have determined right here on this stage, after Dan Harmon left, and we didn't talk about Community at all. And I think Arrested Development is one of those shows that sets Community up for the density of its joke telling, for its callbacks, for that Beetlejuice thing that runs through some of those episodes.
Yeah.
What a callback. And the Russo brothers. So Arrested Development, that is our essential comedy.
Yes.
3 cheers for Arrested Development. We didn't even talk about the narrator. Do we have questions?
That's true, yeah. If you have questions, I actually can't see it all.
There's somebody at mic 1.
Hi.
Hello.
Can I just say, I've been commenting at the AV Club for like 5 years, and it's basically like my online home, so this is a dream come true for me.
What's your commenter name?
I'm Dr. Regina Phalange. So I was really happy for that like 12-week period where you covered Friends. That was my calling. But speaking of Community, I'm mainly on the community boards that are still going. We just reached 100,000 comments there, so we'd love a newswire.
Nice.
But I kind of feel obligated to ask, firstly, what is your favorite episode of Community, seeing as I come from there? But secondly, something that finishes in Australia tomorrow is OJ Made in America, which of course was awesome and made me cry so much. But my question is, how does that sort of tie into, I guess, this sort of rise of non-fiction series that you're seeing, particularly this year? Like you had The Jinx and Making a Murderer, and the one that I really enjoyed, except for the finale, was The Circus, which covered the election this year. But so, yeah, what's your favorite episode of Community and like non-fiction on TV? Thanks.
Those follow very, very normally one after the other. Yeah, what's your favorite comedy? And talk about the rise of serialized television and how the minimalization of it leads to a new form of documentary storytelling. Laura, why don't you begin?
I am bad with episode names, but my favorite episode of Community is the paintball fight one, right? What's it called? They have great names.
Modern Warfare is the first one.
Thank you. Modern Warfare. And I think if I can put your question off for another 27 minutes, we are going to talk a little bit more about nonfiction because that is a really interesting phenomenon, and it's one that I've been really into personally, and I think that it's also kind of coincided with things like Serial, the podcast. Julie Snyder was here today. We were still sleeping after our all-night Buffy binge. But I think that kind of narrative storytelling has really taken off, and we will touch on that briefly at the end.
I was endlessly impressed with the novelty episodes of Community as it ran. But my favorite episodes are the bottle episodes, the really non-conceptual ones where everyone's just around the table. And the calligraphy one, that's great. When Annie loses her pen, that's really good. But I'm going to go ahead and name my favorite episode, even though my favorite joke from Community is in the first Christmas episode when they're talking about the fight and Shirley breaks into the room and Troy goes, "Oh, we're just talking about Jeff's fight." Donald Glover is a master of comedic delivery, and he shows that in polygraphy. I can't remember the exact title, but competitive polygraphy or cooperative polygraphy. There it is, yeah. Where they're all hooked up to a lie detector test. It's all conversation based. It's so much It's all facial expressions, as Abed says in the first bottle episode, and also it has this thing that I love about TV comedy and sitcoms specifically, and I think you can kind of see it in that Gene Parmesan clip, that rhythm, that refrain that comes up, the lie detector operator, as she says lie every time they say a lie, is that just pings, that makes my brain tingle in a way that no other episode of Community does.
Well, you stole my answer, you son of a bitch. I think my favorite episode of Community would have to be, and for maybe very personal reason, and I was actually thinking about this earlier this week, because I think it may have changed in the past month and a half, but right now it's the election, because it includes
pop.
Because it includes not just pop, but my favorite line when Donald Glover describes one of the candidates as, "It's like God spilled a person." Which is a line I've thought of often in the weeks since our presidential election. And I've come back to again and watched that episode since, and it's very cathartic for that very reason.
Do we have anybody over at mic 2?
I can't see.
I can't see.
If
nobody's there, all right.
Okay. Well, then let's move on. Like I said, though, feel free to come up. Like I said, there's going to be so much we're not going to have time to get to, but if you're all obviously TV nerds if you're here with us right now, so if there's something you want to bring up about that, feel free to line up and ask it, even if it's completely outside the realm of what we were just discussing.
Do you want to talk about our dividing line?
Oh, I'd love to. Our Maginot line, if you will, of genre television. So, I mean, it's a weird title. I'm not really sure why genre became the go-to name for this collection of anything not sort of in grounded, realistic human...
It's so nondescript, right? Because drama and comedy are also genres.
I feel like it also started off, because it's the same sort of terminology for literature, and it was started off as this kind of derogatory term of like, oh, it's not literary fiction.
Yeah.
But both fiction and, visual fiction have more than compensated for that. Like, there's amazing, science fiction, fantasy, horror, whereas I think that used to be sort of like the low budget, just crap.
I think another problem was that one of our main sources for that changed its name from sci-fi, S-C-I-F-I, to sci-fi, S-Y-F-Y.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that problem, sort of bleeds into a lot of other, it's similar to like the young adult label, right? Which like started out as a way to try and marginalize this type of books written for kids, and now just a way of describing books people actually read. I think similarly, genre TV, has become this sort of catch-all label for shows that actually have interesting hooks and premises that pull people in. But it is also this thing that, we started off, and if you were there last night, obviously, what our choice for the pre and post division of genre TV is. It's Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And there's very good reasons for that, beyond just the fact that we all love it. It was this show, Joss Whedon's sort of baby that was so influential among TV creators. And I think that's one of the reasons it's so compelling, is you see its influence everywhere. You see interviews with everybody from, Barris, the creator of Blackish, to Battlestar Galactica, to Ron Moore. Everybody cites Buffy as this sort of landmark moment that really changed up what you could do in the format and structures of storytelling. And not just in the Buffy episode Storyteller, but in all of the Buffy episodes. And it really did sort of redefine the ways in which genre TV could be taken seriously, the ways you could use it to get at very interesting things that weren't being addressed in other forms of narrative television. So with that being the case, let's launch into sort of our pitches for what we think the most worthwhile post-Buffy genre shows are.
So I am going to pitch to you another Joss Whedon show, a little short-lived series you might have heard of.
Dollhouse, right? You're about to...
Yeah. Right, Dollhouse. So the wonderful thing about Firefly from like this perspective of like peak TV and like binging is it's only 14 episodes long. Like you can watch it in a weekend. If you're like me, you can watch it in a day. I am constitutionally unable to consume TV in any way except binging. So it's very digestible, if ultimately kind of frustrating, in that it clearly should have gone on for, 6 seasons in a movie.
Yeah, it got a movie. It got one season.
Fair.
Dream.
Right. So I personally am attracted to a lot of television shows that feature like really badass women. Buffy is a pretty obvious example, and even though Firefly does have, the captain is played by Nathan Fillion. There's obviously a lot of male characters. There are some really amazing women in this show. And it is in kind of typical Joss Whedon way, this story about chosen family, which, as we know, is one of the things that made Slayer so powerful and is also what makes this story so powerful. So I'm going to show you a clip from one of my favorite Firefly episodes that really, I think, gives you a sense of that chosen family.
No! That is not true. No, I swear. Surely one of you must have told him.
No, not one of the brethren had the heart to say anything. He was so proud.
What? What was he proud of? Who he?
Looked rather natty, truth to be told,
What was natty? I want to hear about the natty thing.
Shepherd Book was just telling us funny stories about his life at the monastery.
Monastic humor, I miss out on all the fun. And all the food, too, apparently.
Just who do you think you're married to? Voila.
I love my wife.
So we got a course set?
We do. Took a little creative navigating, but we should make it all the way to Greenleaf without running afoul of any Alliance patrols. Or a single living soul, for that matter.
Good. Well, it should be.
Of course. What should be an 18-hour trip's gonna take us a better part of the week by this route.
Well, we're in no rush. Like an easy, languorous journey.
Oh, gee, I wonder what that would be like.
Let me help you with that.
It's your turn.
My turn.
Oh, Shepherd told us a funny story about being a preacher. Now you tell us a funny story about being a doctor.
Funny story.
Yeah, because sick people are hilarious.
Well, they can be. In fact, I remember this time I was working the ER, and this fellow, this upright sort of citizen, he comes in and he's complaining of.
Inara, she's got to have some funny horn stories, I'd wager.
Oh, do I ever? Funny and sexy. You have no idea. And you never will. I don't discuss my clients.
Aw, come on, Nara, who'd know?
You? A companion doesn't kiss and tell.
So there is kissing.
Hey, Doc. I think Kaylee may need your help after all.
Care to make the first incision, Dr. Tan? Happy birthday, son.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday, son. How did you know?
Day is a vestigial mode of time measurement based on solar cycles. It's not applicable. I didn't get you anything.
Seems fresh warrant for your arrest came up over the cortex. Had your birthday attached right to it.
Really?
I hope you like it. Couldn't get a hold of no flour, so it's mostly protein. In fact, it's pretty much what we just had for dinner. But I tried to get the frosting as chocolatey tasting as possible, so.
Thank you. I'm very, very deeply moved. Thank you.
Well, deeply move yourself to blow out them candles so we can try a slice.
Come on, Doc. Give a good blow.
What the hell was that?
Maybe just a hiccup. I'll go check it out.
I'll take a look at the helm.
Fire.
Okay, right.
God, I just want to stop everything and watch the rest
I
of it.
know. I love this clip because not actually that much happens, but you get so much background from just a really short scene. Like, you immediately sort of understand where these characters have come from and what their hang-ups are. And the rest of this particular episode is Malcolm... I almost said Malcolm Tucker.
You love TV Malcolm.
I do.
You didn't pick Malcolm in the Middle?
The rest of this has Malcolm sort of showing the crew some tough love to kind of bring his family back together. And that, I think, makes it so much more than just this like space western or genre. And I think that Joss Whedon was exactly the right person to lay that groundwork for bringing that back to genre. We'd have to call it genre, to science fiction fantasy.
You don't have to do air quotes every time.
All right, Jasmine, let's talk about somebody who was unfairly maligned as the poor man's Joss Whedon for most of his career. Let's talk about Bryan Fuller. He loves his quips, he loves his pop culture references, and he has no qualms about killing a character off. And I think that kept a lot of his shows in the shadows of Buffy and Angel and Firefly and Dollhouse for a long time.
He studied at the Joss Whedon School of Pain.
Yeah, I think so. Until a little show that nobody really needed called Hannibal. Somehow, in this sick, sad world, to paraphrase Daria, we decided that one of our greatest pop culture creations is a cannibalistic psychiatrist named Hannibal Lecter. In the films, he was given a definitive performance, by Anthony Hopkins, Sir Anthony Hopkins, a Knight of the Realm, an Oscar winner who won his Academy Award with like 15 minutes on screen in Silence of the Lambs.
That's how he asks his children to address him every time they see him.
Yeah, that whole spiel?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why he never shuts the fuck up in Westworld. But I would argue that in spite of the fact that Anthony Hopkins has played that role in 3 films and recently said that's 2 films too many, Mads Mikkelsen became the definitive Hannibal Lecter across 3 seasons of Hannibal. I can't believe that this show aired on network television in the States. It is so gross and so violent and yet so alluring. It is a Hieronymus Bosch triptych as a weekly crime procedural. It is postmodern Columbo, where you want to root for the guy who thinks he's smarter than Columbo. Mads is so mannered and so controlled, and I think that's reflected in the show itself. There's all those great weird visual motifs. The light swinging when Will goes into "This is my design." The feathered stag that wanders through all of his crime fantasies. The dream palace that Hannibal constructs and hides away in during his time in Europe in season 3. It's such a great approach to material that we thought we knew so very, very well, that had been poured over a million times, that had already been a film before Silence of the Lambs came out, you know? I love this show so much, I've probably eaten during it too many times. When my wife and I watched Breaking Bad for the first time, after the 2nd or 3rd episode, and I won't say what happens in that episode, but it's something related to a bathtub, we decided that we weren't going to eat anymore during Breaking Bad, but for whatever reason, we never made that rule for Hannibal. All of those reasons aren't really present in this clip. This is a little more energetic than Hannibal usually is, but I wanted to show how well Bryan Fuller can handle action, maybe a little bit better than Joss Whedon. So let's roll that clip.
Hello, Jack. You early? I couldn't wait to get here. Would you care to sous chef? I want to thank you for your friendship, Hannibal. The most beautiful quality of a true friendship is to understand and be understood with absolute clarity.
And this is the clearest moment of our friendship.
I'd like to report gunshots.
So committed to the role, he's literally throwing himself into it. Mads Mikkelsen.
That is quite a score.
It is. Oh, I love that score. I own it on double vinyl. It's the weirdest record I own. I put it on when people were over once. We were playing board games, and they're like, what the fuck are we listening to? And I was like, this is my design.
Hashtag nerd alert. So that, I mean, God, I love Firefly and I love Hannibal. I would be really worried that I wasn't about to make a great case if I wasn't about to talk about our little scene HBO show called The Leftovers. This show, I'm going to be quick because I know we're
running short on time.
Quickly, so I'm going to get to the clip very quickly here. I just want to set this up for those of you who haven't seen it, because I know this is one of those shows that, for whatever reason, I know people talk about it. It's very divisive. It flies under the radar for a lot of people. But it's this amazing show that I'm going to basically argue, God, it's so hard to not just stand her up and see Tony Robbins.
Give your TED Talk.
Infomercial TED Talk, yeah. You know, there might not be a way. You didn't realize there's 5 ways The Leftovers is the greatest show on television right now. But I'm about to tell you how you can know that right now. No, it's so, or it's like a lion in a cage. I used to think it was just because they were trapped and confined to their pacing, but now I see it's because they want to, like, just own the space. The Leftovers, what's so great about it is I think it's Damon Lindelof's attempt to end Lost the way that he really wanted to. And this is what I think, why I think you should all check it out, is he's dealing with the exact same things he was dealing with the Lost, but with HBO instead of ABC. And it's not that I don't think he ended Lost the way he wanted to. He's spoken about it, but I think you can also tell that he was unsatisfied with what he got to do there. And The Leftovers is a chance to revisit all of those themes about life and death and what's our purpose on Earth and why are we supposed to be here. For those of you who haven't seen it, it starts with a very simple genre convention. 2% of the Earth's population just suddenly vanishes without a trace, no explanation, no why, and then life just carries on. And it picks up 3 years later with people trying to continue living lives in the face of this inexplicable miracle. What do you do? Do you continue? Do you have friends you lost? Do you not? Are you the lucky ones? Are they the lucky ones? Who can say? But how do you make meaning out of life in a world where something that you can never explain happens? Because that's actually the world we live in. So I want to show this clip right now. Just the only thing you need to know if you haven't seen the show, Kevin Garvey, our main character played by Justin Theroux, a former sheriff, starts out who, was very intimately involved with somebody when the disappearance happened. And this is him. He's just been shot. He's losing blood, and a very common, something that happens every day on EMT tables and, in fights and this stupid crap, especially in America. He's bleeding out and his heart stops, and this is what happens next.
Who's next? Anybody?
You're right. Don't do it. Stupid.
How about you, officer? You want a turn? Give it a whirl. Oh, that's a great one. Okay, the words are going to come up right there.
Started.
I'm sitting in the railway station, got a ticket to my destination. On a tour of one-night stands, my suitcase and guitar in hand, and every stop is neatly planned for a poet and a one-man band. Homeward bound, I wish I was homeward bound. Home, where my thoughts escaping, home, where my music's playing, home, where my love lies waiting silently for me. Every day's an endless stream of cigarettes and magazines. And each town looks the same to me, the movies and the factories, and every stranger's face I see reminds me that I long to be homeward bound. I wish I was homeward bound. Home, where my thoughts escaping, home, where my music's playing, home, where my love lies waiting silently for me. Tonight I'll sing my songs again, I'll play the game and pretend. All my words come back to me in shades of mediocrity, like emptiness in harmony. I need someone to comfort me. Homeward bound, I wish I was homeward bound. Home, where my thoughts escaping, home, where my music's playing, home, where my love lies waiting silently for me. Silently for me.
He dies, and he wakes up in this... I know, right? I just lose my shit every time I see it. He dies, and he wakes up in this place where he has to sing karaoke. And he comes back, and he doesn't come back because he wants to, he just wants to live so bad or something. He comes back because that's what happens all the time when people swallow too much water at the swimming pool, or they have some sort of injury. You can either view it as this very pedestrian, normal thing that happens every day, or you can view it as this profound supernatural occurrence where something miraculous happened. And that's life, and that's what this show gets at. And it's got one more season, and I hope by then you're all caught up with it.
One more season made in Australia.
Yeah. So vote for it for that reason. All right, Jasmine?
Jasmine?
Well, all three. Like, I haven't seen any of them, but...
Well, that's good. We've given you 3 recommendations, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'd have to say I'm definitely more inclined to watch Leftovers, but I think Firefly was definitely intriguing as well. So, honestly...
Hannibal's not even in the running.
Well, it is. Like, I've definitely heard, like, really good, like, reviews about it, but I'd have to say Leftovers would be the take.
I nailed it, you guys. I fucking nailed it!
All right, we got 5.5 minutes left, so if anybody wants Q&A, line up now. Or you know what?
I see.
Yeah, we got somebody at the microphone. Go ahead.
Hey, I think Hannibal, real winner. Thank you so much for mentioning it.
Hey, no problem.
I just wanted to ask, because I'm in the middle of watching it. I'm up to season 3, and it's just like, I actually don't know how I feel about this show, and I wanted to ask 3 people who like are really well versed in TV and sort of where it sits in the landscape of American television. What do you think of the just massive mess that is American Horror Story?
Oh man, you're only in season 3 and you think it's a massive mess? Whoa. Wow. That is a show that, as it's gone on, I increasingly watch fewer episodes per season. I did not watch any of American Horror Story Roanoke, which was the season this year.
I've watched the whole fucking thing. I can tell you, yeah. I mean, you can speak to this as well, but Ryan Murphy, I mean, he's basically this, like, ADHD, like, challenged, you know, he's just so... He's got this glorious vision of what things should look like, which is why he's this amazing visual stylist.
And why the 4 episodes of The People vs. O.J. Simpson he directed are fantastic.
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing. He has this great eye for detail and for structure and framing, and he has no idea how to tell a story whatsoever. He's hired some very smart people who are doing their best against all odds. You know, Tim Minear in particular, I think, is an incredible storyteller that he's hired. But the problem is, and they've done this in interviews, where they say, Ryan Murphy will literally come into the American Horror Story writer's room from week to week, and he'll be like, aliens, guy with a knife, and shoe salesman. Make it. What? That's what they do. And they do. Somehow they make these. And so there are some very bad seasons. There are some very decent ones. I actually quite liked Roanoke. I thought it was the strongest season since maybe the second one. But yeah, there's lots of reasons Ryan Murphy's shows are a mess.
Like, Laura hasn't watched it. She's you don't do horror very well,
No,
right?
I get scared when
All right.
like somebody comes up behind my desk at work.
Number 2.
Really.
Thank you.
On the topic of Firefly, what is one show that you think ended prematurely? I think mine would be Deadwood. And one show that you think would have benefited from ending sooner?
Whew.
Wow.
Well, let's talk about Ryan Murphy. Glee should have ended when it was the movie script that Ian Brennan turned in, that they created a show around.
I would say the American version of The Office should have ended possibly with Jim and Pam's wedding.
Ooh. And if not, then Michael Scott's departure.
Yeah, well, for sure by then. Yeah, Laura?
I would have said The Office, but I'm still a big Office UK fan. So I think, I don't know if we're going to get to our whole thing about sort of limited TV series, but Erik and I were talking yesterday that one of the really great influences that British television has had on American television is this notion that not everything has to run for 10 fucking seasons. And the Brits have done this really well for a long time, where, like, you know, the thick of it is 4 series, I think, and a couple Christmas specials. Like, it's very, very manageable. And I think that that's becoming, and especially as, you know, it's enabling bigger stars to kind of get attached to these projects, it's becoming a much more reasonable, limited series are a much more reasonable, like, way of creating and digesting television.
Yeah.
So thank you, England.
Absolutely.
Real quick, shows that should have lasted longer. Max Headroom, this amazing dystopian show from the 1980s, really holds up really well. It's got Jeffrey Tambor in it. Everybody loves Jeffrey Tambor.
I'll go with Dollhouse. Should have lasted longer. It was just getting good.
I mean, Firefly. I know you said I can't use that, but it's fucking Firefly.
Where's Firefly?
Where's Firefly?
Where's Firefly?
All right, microphone 1.
Hello. I just wanted to know whether you guys see like this era of peak TV as like something that's good or as an issue. Like you said earlier, that there's almost too much content going on, and if you do see it as an issue, like maybe like would the executives and the writers would get around like maybe even the idea of shortening the runtime of an average TV show? Is that I don't know.
I got a 2-part answer to this question. 1, it is professionally a nightmare. because I've been here since Thursday, and all of a sudden, there's this fucking Netflix show that everybody's talking about that we didn't get screeners for. The OA? What the hell? Why? Netflix is gonna kill me. That's my big concern. What is a positive about it is that there's so much opportunity now that there are people out there who I don't think would have been able to tell their stories in a network television setting if there wasn't Netflix, if there wasn't Hulu, if there weren't a galaxy of cable channels. And I think we saw that this year with Atlanta. We saw it last year with Master of None. We also saw it this year with Insecure. These are all American examples, I'm sorry. But marginalized populations are getting a chance to be on television now, and I think that enriches us all.
Yes.
One of the shows that we really fell in love with, my wife and I, last year was just because of the beautiful language and the performance of talking about strong women, Ava Green, was Penny Dreadful. And
Yes.
I just wondered, did you have any thoughts as to, was it real? It was such a shitty ending to that season, and it felt like it should have just gone on for a little bit longer. Do you think that was always the intention, or was there something else going on in the
I think
background?
John Logan is a damn liar. He said that was when he intended to end it. I think he's lying through his teeth. I think he came to an agreement with Showtime so that they could both get out with grace and dignity. I think the show was just hitting its footing. I think that show should have been renamed Ava Green Presents the Ava Green Show, starring Ava Green and friends. But yeah, I agree. That should have run longer. You're absolutely right. Next, we're already running out of time, so quickly.
Hey, you've set up my question really well, which is my favorite reluctant hero, and we've talked about strong women a lot. Where do you think Jay Tyler from Wonderful sits in that? And you've even shown her.
You know what? Here's a thing that I just am going to admit on stage after setting up a Brian Fuller show. I haven't watched Wonderfalls. Does anybody?
I've watched bits and pieces of it.
I've watched the whole damn thing, and I've met 3 of the cast members because I love that fucking show. So sorry, what was your question again?
It was where do you think she fits in the landscape? You know, she's not this strong woman. She's a Gen Y.
She's not, no, yeah.
And would she have won by now? 10 years
God,
later.
you're right. Oh, God, Jay Tyler. I love her so much. That's that show. That's one of those shows I watch when I'm just feeling under the weather, and it makes me feel better. That's another. That was another example of a too soon gone before its time show, right? Where it was just finding its footing. Although I think it came out so strong right out of the gate. It was already, it knew what it was doing from the very first episode. It was one of those. I think it was one of those things that burned too bright for this earth. People didn't really know how to handle it. The network certainly didn't know how to handle it, and so it just fell apart. But it's a beautiful thing, and I agree. I wish it had continued.
And I think just in sort of about strong women in general, there's this trope of strong female characters, and it's okay to just have a woman in a show, right? We can be anything. And I think that although I really I love The Americans because Kerry Russell plays this just absolute badass. One of my favorite American scenes is her pretending to be hurt, and then she's she just rains hell on this guy. But that can become a two-dimensional thing as well. And I think that just, Erik was talking about this glut of, streaming services and production companies, and it's really giving a voice to a lot more people. And I think that we're going to start to see just a lot more three-dimensional characters of women, of people of color, of other marginalized people that's going to, I hope, just bring a lot more three-dimensional storytelling to all characters.
And hopefully a few more of the oppressed straight white males that have gotten such short shrift in television throughout history.
Number 1.
Howdy. Sorry, I'm gonna be a shit and ask a big question.
Uh-oh.
Since I started getting into TV, which was about 6 or 7 years ago, things have pretty dramatically changed from I was watching TV on DVDs or Foxtel, which is sort of our cable equivalent, where now, we're all Netflix. We've got Netflix and Stan, which is our other big streaming thing. It's changed so dramatically, and where do you guys reckon TV will be in the next 5 years?
Well, we'll all be watching it on our moon farms.
I'm really excited. This is echoing what we've just said 3 times now, but I'm really excited about things like Insecure with Issa Rae doing really well on HBO, on a major prestige cable network or channel. I'm really excited to see what the next 5 years bring in terms of bringing these marginalized stories to the fore. I'm also excited / extremely terrified to see what our current political situation does to voices of political dissent. I think that there will be some really interesting art, and I think important art in the next, hopefully, just 4 years.
I think we'll just increasingly see TV get divorced from the device that it's named after, and I think we've already seen that, and I think it's just going to continue. I can't imagine that a majority of the people in this room still watch TV on TV, which kills my soul a little bit as someone who still loves tuning into a show when it actually airs, but I understand that convenience is a big factor in how people watch now, so that's great. Number 2.
All right, so I'm going to ask a question that the TV nerds in here are.
And this is our last question, sorry.
So, but we'll take the other questions.
Yeah, we'll take the other questions
We'll meet you guys
outside.
All right, so I got introduced to Joss Whedon with Firefly a few years ago. Have always wanted to go back to Buffy. Managed to last night with the Buffy-a-thon, and now I'm all in. I know season 1 is meant to be the sucky season.
It's not that bad.
It's that bad.
It's very fun.
So where do I start? Because with Firefly, you start with episode 2 to really get value out of it. So to get value out of Buffy, where do you start?
You watch the first 2 episodes, you watch episode 10, Nightmares, and then you watch the season finale of the finale of season 1. Those are the only ones you need to watch from that first season.
Alex has thought about this a little bit.
Thought about this a lot.
I'm going to talk to you outside and write that down.
Okay. Yeah. Guys, I wish we could take all the questions, but honestly, we want to keep talking with you guys. You guys are our people. We're so glad you came. Thank you so much.
It's amazing. Thank you for coming to this. We were in the Sydney Opera House and we were talking television. Oh my God, thank you so much. Thank you to the Opera House, thank you to the crew, thank you to the sponsors.
Thank you to Jasmine.
Yeah, thank you, Jasmine. You did a wonderful job. All right, good night.